Okay, welcome to Reimagine Onboarding. You'll get 10 minutes. You'll get a signal at 5, 2, and 1 minute, followed by up to 15 minutes of Q&A. You can begin whenever you're ready.
Hello, my name is Alec, and I'm here with my colleagues Amy, Mark, and Wenqing. We are Nomad Consulting. We're incredibly excited to be here with Booz Allen Hamilton today, and we really want to talk about how you can attract, connect, and retain strong talent. Now, when people who aren't familiar with management consulting firms or government contractors are first exposed to them, often their first question is, well, what exactly do you sell? And unlike a major corporation such as Target or General Mills, management consulting firms and government contractors don't sell products. Instead, they sell their people and their services, which is why human capital and developing human capital is so important to your company. The question that we're trying to answer for you today is how can Booz Allen Hamilton improve the onboarding process to decrease new hires' time to productivity, in other words, how long it takes them to become average employees in the company, increase employee satisfaction, and maintain employees' alignment to culture. We want to do this by improving 3 dimensions of your onboarding process. What happens to employees before they get to the job on their first day, what actually happens on their first day of orientation, and then what happens throughout the entire year 1 experience, because onboarding doesn't just end in the first week of employment. Now, your company has been incredibly successful in terms of onboarding in the past. In fact, you've won numerous awards from various HR organizations across the country. But we think that we can still improve upon your onboarding process, specifically by integrating parts of your company's culture into what employees feel when they walk into the company's doors. Our proposal will help you attract, connect, and retain strong talent, specifically before the first day by improving logistics so that when people show up to work, they can focus on the more important things related to their job. On the first day, making sure that employees feel like they're a part of the company and the training process goes smoothly. And then in the year 1 experience, making sure that employees are getting continuous feedback and that they're happy with their managers and their company's culture. And with that, we want to talk about how you can improve the experience before day 1.
First, we recommend your company to send out a reminder of filling out I-9 form online through text message, because there is research show that text message is way much more effective than email, and this can increase the response rate from 97% to 98.5%. And secondly, we strongly recommend the managers in your company to send out a 1-minute welcome video to their direct employees, because this can shorten the distance between employees and managers and help employees feel they're fully welcomed even before they get on board. Besides that, every employee will receive an email that includes a welcome packet and goal-setting plan. The welcome schedule can help employee to understand the logistic arrangement of their new orientation, and having their personalized goal-setting plan can help employees feel being valued and welcome in the company. Apart from that, employees are allowed to upload the photo of their future working ID online before the day 1, and this can decrease the workload of HR department and also allow employees to fully enjoy their fun time on their first day. So after knowing how to prepare for the day 1, now let's go to see how the day 1 exactly looks like.
So the most important thing for the company to accomplish on the first day is creating a good first impression in the eyes of these employees. So the first thing that they see when they walk through the doors of Booz Allen Hamilton is their desk, which is all ready to go with everything that they need in order to be successful in the company. They have their company laptop, which is already registered and set up. They have their company photo ID waiting on their desk because they've already submitted their photo ahead of time, so it was already developed. The most important thing that they see on their desk is a welcome report, which shows exactly why this employee was hired to the company. Now, the welcome report includes in it dimensions of the company's culture, so that when employees are thinking about their own personal success or the things that they've accomplished in the past, it aligns with how they view the company in general. So Robert, for instance, has been incredibly successful in terms of his volunteer experience. That aligns with the company's value of passion and service. During his interview, Robert showed that he has collective ingenuity as well as a champion's heart, which also aligns with 2 Booz Allen Hamilton's core cultural dimensions. Even further, we want to focus on how the first week is going to differ between 2 types of hiring. So there's either hiring where everybody is hired all at once and they start on the same day, such as internships, for example. We refer to this as batch hiring. Now, with batch hiring, everybody's meeting each other for the first time. So it's important that early on in the process, they focus on more team building activities. In addition, these people often have much more logistical and administrative paperwork to get through, so they have to focus more on that throughout the week as well. But keeping it down to 2 to 3 hours a day is beneficial. Then, for single hires and people who have previously worked at Booz Allen Hamilton, they have a lot less administration. In addition, they're joining teams that have already been formed, so it's a lot less practical for them to focus most of the day on teamwork. This is why we want them to start work right away and then progressively increase their workload throughout the week. Then, both sets of hiring involve in day 5 having each employee meet with their career manager to talk about Booz Allen Hamilton's ethics guidelines, a part of your onboarding process that already exists. With that, we want to talk about how you can improve your company's training.
Through looking at various learning methodologies, we soon learned that micro-learning is the best integration when it comes to HR and specifically onboarding. What it is it's typically 2 to 3 minute short videos that you already have within the system, but it's consolidated and it's accessible on anybody's handheld device, and it's also specific to the one specific learning objective. And because of this, we want everyone within the company to have it. We want everyone to be able to have a profile so that people, when they come back to the company after years, they know exactly where they left off, as well as people who are further within their careers can go and learn new technologies that they might not have had previous experience working with. This is important because it doesn't overload and overwhelm new employees right when they show off on the first day, and it's allowing them to become flexible, which is something that generally new employees in this day and age are really valuable. And most importantly, it maintains enthusiasm, and it's on demand, and it's very easy to update. We want to tie that in with gamification. Through looking at HCL, and specifically, let me readdress what gamification really is, it's being able to make anything really fun, and that oftentimes includes rewards and games within a specific learning method. So with this, we found HCL Technologies sent out a pre-game, and it was able to reduce the dropping of candidates from 10% to 1%, and we think that implementing this within Booz Allen Hamilton will allow Booz Allen to accomplish similar success. Specifically how this is going to work is we're hoping to implement gamification within the microlearning so that through these little modules, employees will be able to be engaged and will be able to really enjoy what they're learning, and also it'll keep them entertained and ultimately help retain information. So this is going to be a plugin within Workday, which we found will help keep Booz Allen's information secure, and it's also able to happen, so we'll have people on staff implement this. And the impact is it's going to be more meaningful for the user experience. It's going to increase higher information retention by 20%, and it's going to create consistent knowledge throughout the organization.
Now, microlearning and gamification can only serve to facilitate corporate learning to such an extent. How can we engage your employees on a more personal level as they progress from day 1, week 1, into the first year in your company? If you think about it really, when it comes to new hires, the key stakeholder here are the managers who manage these employees. Managers who exemplify best-in-class onboarding practices in the industry can reduce time to productivity of new employees by up to 60%, which can really increase the effectiveness of the onboarding campaign in general. Some examples of what managers do, good managers do, are having regularly scheduled meetings, focusing on a goal-based performance management approach, and focusing on strengths instead of weaknesses. Now, because managers are so important to your company, you need to be able to measure the success of these managers. And we can do so by implementing feedback tools such as Office Vibe, Culture Amp, 15Five, or Tiny Pulse, which are essentially survey tools that your employees can fill out about their bosses or managers with questions backed by science to answer key metrics such as employee satisfaction, cultural alignment, and recognition. The idea is for HR to identify deficiencies and opportunities in management and react to the problem accordingly. Now, measuring manager success is great, but how can we continue to engage your new employees throughout the first year? We understand that you currently have an annual performance review process, which according to some of your employees in Glassdoor is clunky, time-consuming, and impersonal. To overcome these negative stigmas, first of all, we want to implement a continuous performance management approach. We want to move the annual process into quarterly meetings, and we also want to have regular check-ins between managers and employees at each of the employees' significant milestones, which examples include first day of work, a first day before a big client engagement, or the first time you make a big administrative mistake. The idea here is for a two-way interaction that's less informal, for both of them to be accountable to each other.
So at this point, you're probably asking, well, what is this proposition worth to my company today? All said and done with costs and benefits included, and we can get into more of that later. This is worth essentially $7 million in terms of changing your onboarding process. We want to start everything on day one because all of these actionable items that we've discussed, at least most of them, really can be started right away. The only thing that's going to take some time is developing the learning management system, which we'll hopefully launch by year 2. And with that, we're open to questions.
Okay, thank you. One thing I'm worried about is my new employees before they start work. They're still wrapping up their university classes, and frankly, it's illegal for us to ask them to do too much work before they start. How are you going to handle this?
So a lot of the work that we're asking your new employees to do is more administrative work. So the things that you're already doing in your company right now. Some of the training and learning management systems that we're talking about will happen when they show up at work, and that'll usually be interspersed with team activities and things like that so that the day goes a little bit quicker.
And here at BAH, we're worried about the triangle of people, processes, and technologies. What I've heard in your presentation is a lot of my new employees, interacting with their handheld device. How is this going to touch their heart?
Yeah. So we actually separated kind of parts of our solution into people, process, and technology. So some of the technology focus that we've talked about is the feedback tools as well as the change in learning management. But that's all to facilitate greater human interaction so that they spend less time on training, or that the time they spend on training they don't present as much. So we do want to personalize the experience by giving them welcome guides, showing them why they were hired at the company, in addition to connecting them with their boss. And in addition, the continuous performance management system that we discussed is a better way of informally connecting employees to their boss.
And while it's true that the majority of our hiring is new hires right out of school, those eventually won't be millennials anymore. They'll be Generation Z. Plus, we hire experienced people as well. So, but nonetheless, the bulk of our hiring is millennials right now. How will this be accepted by millennials?
I can take that question. So a lot of the technology we are proposing is not necessarily, has a very high learning curve. Microlearning itself is actually supposed to help facilitate learning by organizing information into smaller chunks. Gamification itself is not a technology, but a way to really increase engagement. So we believe that this doesn't really have an effect or really separate the old from the young. And all in all, this is really supposed to help everyone increase engagement, whether it's training or throughout the first year, and second year, and third year onwards.
And you told me that there's going to be $7 million of value to BAH. Talk a little bit about the costs that offset that value and where that value comes from.
Sure. Actually, if we could go one back. So we did some research about what costs would be associated with our onboarding process. The bulk of the costs are going to be associated with creating the platform that we talk about in terms of implementing microlearning and gamification. We have some risk management strategies in order for this cost not to all necessarily be incurred without the value that's associated with it, including alpha tests, beta tests, looking at the design of the application as it goes, rolling it out gradually, those types of things. But in addition, we think that the benefits can be reducing compliance costs. So as we talked about earlier, microlearning leads to, it's been studied, a 20% increase in retention of information. So with that, we can reduce the costs of, for instance, not being government compliant. In addition, we can reduce the time it takes to train, so we reduce time to productivity by 20% as well. That cost is also factored in with the Booz Allen Hamilton average salary. And in addition, the case study that we mentioned earlier reduces turnover by 9% by implementing gamification, because then people don't just feel overworked with administrative paperwork, they actually enjoy their job. So if we look at the timeline of costs and benefits, we're going to be able to, Appendix R. So we're going to be able to see benefits in the first year already associated with decreasing compliance costs and improving the entire employee experience, but most of what we're talking about is a long-term solution that starts at year 3.
Okay, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your time.